of judgment, resolve, etc. According to another interpretation, all 5 mental activities are associated with the 5 feelings. A treatise says that the faculty of sorrow exists in the thought of supreme dharmas, because in seeking their realization, there is sorrow in not acquiring them, and longing for them. In places of the unadulterated feeling of suffering, beings seek liberation, because manas possesses the faculty of suffering, as explained earlier. A treatise says that craving and thirst are associated with sorrow and suffering, because both craving and thirst must be associated with desire.
Since the faculty of suffering is associated with mental consciousness, what is the error if the 4 mental activities, resolve, etc., accompany suffering? Also, as discussed earlier, the first 5 consciousnesses possess the 4 activities of subtle judgment, etc. Therefore, the 5 mental activities with specific objects, desire, etc., are associated with the 5 feelings. These 5 feelings should also be investigated from the standpoint of such things as their moral natures, realm, where they are found, whether one is a learner, post-learner, etc., in accordance with reason.
14. Good mental activities. We have explained universal mental activities and those with specific objects. What are the characteristics of the good mental activities? The verses of Vasubandhu say, faith, conscience, sense of shame, the 3 roots of good, non-craving, etc., vigor, serenity, vigilance, indifference, and harmlessness are the good. The treatise says that only those associated with a good mind are called good mental activities, that is, these fixed 11 consisting of faith, conscience, etc. What is faith, Sraddha? Its nature is that of the purification of mind, which is a profound acquiescence toward and joyful desire for realities, virtues, and abilities. Its activity is that of counteracting faithlessness and enjoying the good.
However, there are, in detail, 3 aspects of faith. The first is faith in realities, because it is a profound faith in, and acquiescence toward, dharmas that are real things or principles. The second is faith in virtues, because it is a profound faith in, and delight in, the truly pure virtues of the 3 treasures. The third is faith in abilities, because it is a profound faith that one has the ability to obtain, and produce a desire for, mundane and supramundane good, dharmas, respectively. Consequently, it counters faithlessness, and that mind, with faith, desires to realize and cultivate mundane and supramundane good, dharmas. Acquiescence means resolve, which is the cause of faith. Joyful desire means longing, the fruit of faith.
It is asked, can you say with certainty what are the distinct characteristics of faith? We reply, have we not just defined its nature as purification of mind? Again, a question, we still do not completely understand what is meant by a purification of mind. If purity is identical with mind, then faith ought not be a mental activity, but rather mind itself. If faith causes the mind to be pure, shameful, etc., then what is the difference between faith and other mental activities such as shame? The same difficulty arises if faith is a pure dharma associated with mind. We reply, its nature is that of purifying. It can purify mind-land mental activities. We speak of purifying the mind because mind is the predominant matter, just as a water-purifying jewel purifies turbulent water. Although conscience and others are good, they do not have the characteristic of purifying. Faith has the characteristic of purification, hence, we do not get it mixed up with other mental activities.
Also, each of the defiled dharmas has its own characteristic. It is only faithlessness that is itself soiled and then also soils mind and mental activities, just as something that is extremely dirty soils itself and then others. Faith is truly opposite to that, and that is why purification is its characteristic. Some say that faith is characterized by fond enjoyment, but if that were true, it would have all 3 moral natures, and would not be simply good. It would then be essentially the same as desire. Also, it would not have as its object the 2 truths of suffering, dukkha, and its cause, samadaya. There is another theory that faith is characterized by conformity. Again, if that were true, it would possess all 3 moral natures and not differ from resolve and desire. If it is conformity to judgment, that is the same as resolve, and if it is conformity to the pleasing, it is the same as desire. Apart from these two, there is no other conformity. Thus you should know that faith is purification of mind.
What is conscience, Ari? Its nature is that of revering and respecting the good through the power of oneself and the Dharma. Its activity is that of countering a lack of conscience and ending evil conduct. One's self-respect and respect for the Dharma increases, and one reveres and respects the good and is ashamed of evil. One counters lack of conscience and puts an end to evil conduct. What is sense of shame, apatrapia? Its nature is that of despising and resisting evil because of the power of worldly opinion, and its activity is that of countering shamefacedness and ending evil conduct. As fear of the world's blame increases, one despises and resists evil and is ashamed of offending, one counters shamelessness, and one ends all evil conduct.
Shame for offenses is the common characteristic of these two li'i, conscience and sense of shame, and for that reason the holy teachings suggest that shame is their common essence. If it is maintained that shame is the specific characteristic of these two, there must be no substantial difference between conscience and sense of shame. That being so, these two dharmas would surely not be associated, because feeling, conceptualization, etc., are not the same, but are associated. If it is maintained that the difference is established on the basis of self, as basis for conscience, and other, as basis for shame, they must not really exist, and that contradicts holy teaching. If it is conceded that they are real but originate separately, in sequence, this contradicts the Yogacarabhini Sastra, which says that 10 good mental activities are found in all good minds.
It is replied, if veneration of the good and contempt for the bad are the specific characteristics of these two, their objects must be different, in which case they cannot occur simultaneously. You are as mistaken as we are, so why blame us alone? We reply, who says the two dharmas have different objects? They ask, in that case, what is your answer? We reply, when mind is good, whatever may be its object, there is, at that very moment, veneration of good and contempt for evil. For that reason, both conscience and shame are found, together, in all good minds, regardless of the object. They ask, did we not say the same thing? We reply, no, what you said was that conscience and shame are substantially the same, so how can you object to our former points? When the holy teachings speak of the importance of self and others, by self, they mean oneself and the Dharma, while others mean the rest of the world. An alternative explanation is that venerating the good refers to benefiting oneself, and despising evil refers to harming oneself, by others.
Non-craving, etc. means non-craving, non-hatred, and non-delusion, alobha, advisa, amoha. These three are called roots because they are predominant in the production of good, and because they are immediate antidotes to the three roots of non-good. What is non-craving? Its nature is that of non-attachment to the three realms of existence and their causes, and its activity is that of countering craving and promoting the good. What is non-hatred, advisa? Its nature is that of non-hatred toward the three kinds of suffering and its causes. Its activity is that of countering ill will and promoting the good. When a good mind occurs, whatever its object, there is neither attachment for nor hatred toward existence, etc. It is not necessary to have these, existence, etc., as objects, even though one is considering them, in the same way that conscience and shame are established in the consideration of good and evil. Therefore these two, i.e., non-craving and non-hatred, are found in all good minds. What is non-delusion, amoha? Its nature is that of clearly apprehending both principles and events, and its activity is that of countering delusion and promoting the good. According to one interpretation, non-delusion is by nature discernment, because the Abhidharmasamukha says that its substance is that of certitude, derived from retribution, teaching, evidence, and knowledge. These are